Those nachos need to come with a warning sign. I'm telling you now. Come with me because we're about to make the best loaded nachos for our Super Bowl party. Barbecued pulled pork for our nachos. So let's get started. The first thing that we have to do is we have to start the dry rub. So for that, I just have a bowl and I'm gonna add in about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then to that, I'm gonna add in black pepper, salt, paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, cinnamon. It's gonna give it that nice background smoky flavor, but it's not gonna taste like cinnamon. Some cayenne pepper and some red pepper flake. And then we're just gonna give that a mix. Now, you always hear me say this is my seasoning, this is my mix, whatever. This is how I make my dry rub for anything that I'm gonna barbecue. I may add dried mustard, but since my husband's gonna be eating this and he can detect mustard in anything from a million miles away, I'm not adding it to this, but feel free. And then once in a blue moon, I'll add some cumin, but I'm gonna have the cinnamon in here and that's gonna give it that background warmth that I'm looking for. So we just give that a good mix. Now, if you don't want to go through making your own barbecue dry rub, that's fine. You can buy a pre-made one in a bottle. That is totally up to you. I just like to make my own because number one, I know what's in it. Number two, I can control the amounts of what's in it and customize it to the way I like it. So now that we have our dry rub all good mixed up, let's put it aside for a minute and let's bring out the star of the show. Ta-da! This is a 12-pound bone-in pork butt. So I'm feeding a lot of people, so that's why I have such a large one. Not to mention the fact that this freezes beautifully. Once it's all cooked and we have it shredded up, you can put it in individual serving containers and pop it in the freezer, and the next time you want pulled pork, you have it ready. So first things first, I patted this dry. It has to be completely dry. That's number one. Number two, we need to prepare the fat cap of this. So what I like to do is take a very sharp knife. If you don't have a very sharp knife, you can use a razor to do this because the fat cap of a pork butt is very, very thick. So I just like to make slits through the fat. Let me see if you could see that. Just through the fat, but not through the meat. And we're gonna go all the way down, making these slits. So what I have here is a 12-pound pork shoulder. So we're gonna take our knife, a very sharp knife. If you don't have a sharp knife, you can use a razor blade for this. And we just wanna score the fat cap down to the meat, but not through the meat. So see here how I've started making scores? So we're gonna go down the whole pork shoulder like that. Then we're just gonna turn it and go the opposite direction. What we're doing is we're trying to create little pockets for our dry rub to sit in. So once we have our meat all scored up and we've made our little pockets, we're gonna transfer this to a roasting pan. So now we're gonna take our dry rub and we're just gonna sprinkle that all over this pork shoulder. And make sure you massage it in there and you get it into all of those crevices that we just worked so hard to make. And we're gonna flip it over, do the other side, pack it on in there. Now, whatever in the bottom of the pan, make sure that you get the front and back as well. Don't neglect any part of this. One more time, just making sure all of this is covered. That was the perfect amount. Okay, let me go wash my hands, be right back. Okay, so my hands are all clean, so now we're gonna hit it with extra virgin olive oil. And this particular pork shoulder has a beautiful fat cap. So that's gonna help keep this pork shoulder very, very moist, but we just wanna give it a head start. So that's why we're putting extra virgin olive oil on it. And also, that's just gonna ensure that your pork shoulder is gonna stay moist. And it's also gonna help your dry rub stick. Now we're gonna add one more ingredient since we're on the topic of moisture. We are gonna add in 2 cups of apple juice. You can use apple juice, you can use apple cider. Just don't pour it over the top of the meat. Pour it into the pan. And you want it good. Now, this roasting pan is big, and so is my pork shoulder. So you want it to go maybe a quarter of the way up the sides of the pan. We're trying to create a moist environment. We're doing everything that we can to keep this beautiful piece of meat moist and juicy. If you see that while it's cooking, because this pork roast or pork shoulder is going to be in the oven all day long, at least 5 hours, because it's so big. We want it to get to an internal temperature of between 195 and 205 degrees. The size of your pork shoulder is going to determine how long it's in the oven. But we're baking it at 300 degrees, and I'll let you know once it reaches temperature. Now, I forgot to mention that once it gets to about the halfway point in cooking, you're going to see that the top is going to look like a crust is forming, and that's exactly what we want. Once we reach that point, we're going to tent the roasting pan with aluminum foil nice and tight, and that's going to help it not dry out and continue to cook and become luscious and beautiful. Our pork shoulder is done, and tell me that doesn't look gorgeous. Look at how that fat cap rendered off all of its loveliness and kept our pork so moist and juicy. So first we need a bowl, and I'm just gonna peel the fat cap off because it's done its job. We don't need it anymore. And you could just do this by hand. See how easily it just peels right off? Now, if you're like my husband, he eats that, so I'm not gonna throw it away. I think we got it all. So now we're just gonna put this in a bowl, and we can work with it better. So now at this point, you can use 2 forks. I'm using my hands. It's just easier. And we're literally just gonna pull this pork off of the bone. Oh my God, look how easy that is. And let me show you how juicy this pork is. Look at that. Come on now. So I'm just gonna shred up this whole pork, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Oh my God, that is so tender. I just want to show you how easily you can remove the meat from the bone. That's another key telltale sign of how you can tell that your pork is done, is it just literally falls off the bone. Look at that. That is hot. Look at it. It just literally falls off the bone. Now, there's the bone. Under no circumstances are you to throw this away. Let it cool off completely, put it in a Ziploc bag, and pop it in the freezer. You can make stock with this. You should have a stock bag going in your freezer at all times, with bones, with vegetable scraps, with all kinds of stuff. Food's expensive. We want to use all of it. We don't want to discard any of it. If we can use it, let's use it. I'm going to put this aside. So now that we have all of our pork beautifully shredded up, we're just going to add our barbecue sauce to it. Now, it's already beautifully flavored from that dry rub that we put all over it this morning, and it basting in that all day, but we still need barbecue sauce. It is, after all, pulled pork. So I'm just using Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. It's my absolute favorite bottled, non-homemade barbecue sauce. And that was about a half a bottle, maybe a little less. And then I have another half a bottle that I'm gonna add. My son is addicted to barbecue sauce, so there's always multiple bottles of barbecue sauce in my refrigerator. Let's see where we are with that. And you just go in there and you mix her up, making sure that every single strand is covered in that barbecue sauce. And you want to do this while the meat is still warm, because you want it to absorb into the meat. You just don't want it to lay on top of the meat. Massage it in there. My dog is patiently sitting under my feet waiting for something to fall. I think it needs just a little bit more. And I think I'm going to have just enough. Okay. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Now you can hear it. All right, and there you have it. Pulled barbecued pork. So we're gonna set this aside for a minute. We're gonna go to the stove and we're gonna make the cheese sauce for our nachos. So for the cheese portion of our cheese sauce, we need to freshly grate our cheese. So I'm using a combination of sharp cheddar, extra sharp cheddar, and Monterey Jack. So I just wanna cut this to fit the compartment in my cheese grater. I'm using my attachment for my stand mixer because it's easier and faster, and I'm grating a lot of cheese. And I'm using 16 ounces of each cheese. Put a bowl under our cheese grater, and I like, since we cut them in half, I like to do one of each at a time. That way they mix up nicely. So let's give her a whirl. And we're all done. So do you see how much cheese we got from those 4 blocks of cheese? You want to shred it yourself. Don't use the pre-packaged, pre-shredded cheese that you can buy in the store. It has anti-clumping agents in it, and it just makes for very gritty and not so pleasant cheese sauce. So grate it yourself. Plus, it's cheaper. So let's put this aside for a second. Now the second component to our cheese sauce, don't come for me, I know, but it has to be done. The good old-fashioned brick. It has to be done. It gives the cheese sauce this velvety smoothness that you would not get otherwise. It's just that quintessential cheese that has to be added. It's a must. I'm using a 16-ounce brick of this cheese, and we're just going to cube it up. So first things first, let's get it out of its package. So literally, I'm just going to quarter the block, and then we're just going to cube it up. Just break up your blocks. Make sure they're all separated. So let's put this all together, go to the stove, and start making the cheese sauce. So for the cheese sauce, I have 2 tablespoons of butter that I'm melting. And to that, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We're making a roux, so it's just equal parts fat to flour. And we're just going to get that all mixed together. And we want to cook the starchy flavor out of the flour just until the roux starts to turn golden brown. And it gets all foamy and bubbly. See how foamy the roux is starting to get? So now I want to add in my seasonings so I can bloom them. So I'm just going to add in some salt, some black pepper, and then I have a mix of onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and just a little bit of chili powder. And we're going to give this a mix into the roux, and we just want to start heating up those spices and bloom them so they can develop their flavor. So now that our spices are all bloomed, I'm going to start drizzling in the milk. And you want room temperature milk here. You don't want cold. You don't want to shock. You don't want to put icy cold into hot. You don't want any clumps. And you want to continuously whisk this until it's all incorporated. And you need to let it come to a boil because you won't know how thick it is. When you're using a roux, you won't know how thick your sauce is going to be until it comes to a boil. So let this start to thicken. We're starting off with a cup of milk first. If we need to add more, we can add more. So once our sauce comes up to a boil, you just want to make sure that it's coating the back of a spoon. If it coats the back of a spoon, you're good to go. Now, very important, I say this all the time when I'm making a cheese sauce with you guys. You want to cut the heat before you add the cheese. And you want to do that because you don't want a gritty, sandy cheese sauce. So we're going to start adding in the block cheese first. And you want to add about a cup of this cheese because we're going to add about 4 cups total. I'm just going to stir that until it begins to melt. So if you cook cheese on too high of a temperature, that's how you get that gritty, sandy texture. You think, oh my God, I followed the recipe to the T and it still tastes sandy. That's why. Shut the heat off. The residual heat from the liquid is going to melt the cheese. So now that's beginning to melt. We want to go in and add about 3 cups of our shredded cheese that we made, the sharp cheddar and the Monterey Jack. See how quickly that melts? And you don't have to have the heat on. I'm going to go in with the last cup of the shredded cheese and the last cup of the block cheese. And you just keep stirring until all the cheese is melted. Our cheese sauce is done. Look how beautiful, sexy, and silky that cheese sauce is. Let's build our nachos. So we're ready to build our nachos. So I'm using multi-grain scoops. That's just my preferred chip. You can use whatever tortilla chip you like. And we're just going to spread them out all over the pan. So you want to do one nice even layer of chips. And then we're going to add in our pulled pork. And you're just going to layer the pulled pork on top of the chips. So now I'm going to pop the chips and the meat in the oven for just about 5 minutes. I just want to warm the chips up and warm up the meat. So while the chips and the meat are warming up, I'm just gonna shred up some lettuce, cut up some tomato and green onions, and I'll come back and I'll show you how we build it. So we warmed up everything. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our beautiful cheese sauce and we're just gonna drizzle it all over the top. So now we're gonna add our toppings. So I have lettuce, green onion, tomato, and black olives. So we're just gonna scatter that all on top. So now we're just gonna dollop that with some sour cream, right in the middle. And what do you think about that? Now, the best part, we have to give it a taste, right? That's why I love using these scoops. You get everything all in one bite. Those are so good. That barbecue pork is so tender and juicy and perfectly seasoned. These are elevated nachos. Our homemade barbecued pulled pork, our homemade cheese sauce, there's nothing processed about this. If you want the recipe to my loaded nachos, just comment the word recipe in the comment box below and I'll be sure to send it to your DM. Thanks so much for hanging out with me.